What if the real secret to living a minimal life isn't just getting rid of stuff, isn't just decluttering your closet, and it isn't just giving away things on a whim? What if it's more in line with traveling by yourself with nothing but a backpack? I think in this video, I want to talk a little bit about how I'm packing for Scotland, but more so how that sort of ties into this whole philosophy of minimalism, intentionalism, essentialism, whatever other ism you want to throw in there, and how all that ties together to help me decide how I'm going to travel. I think all of us have this excessive amount, maybe, of hidden baggage that we carry with us all the time. And it is kind of like carrying around a backpack full of stuff. All of your social engagements, all of your distractions on social media, all of the things on your to-do list, all of the things you have to do for family or friends or whatever, all of that. And packing can help you sort of really focus on where can I get rid of things and where do I need to keep things. So I did a video for the members of this channel not too long ago showing how I was packing for Scotland. And I used this Wandered bag. Turn around so that the name is up here. I used this Wandered bag. This is the largest bag I own. And I thought on this particular trip, I have several things I need to try to do. I need to do photography. I want to try to take my drone. I want to make sure that I've got adequate clothing and whatever. And by the time I packed this full of everything I thought I needed, it weighed about 20 pounds. Now, that's not bad. 20-pound backpack. That's really not bad. And I packed it, showed it in the video, and then I unpacked it for a little while. And I was trying to think about what do I really, really need? And I began to think about if I don't take my laptop, which is what really makes backpacks feel heavy when you put that in there. But if I don't take my laptop, what do I need to make sure that I can back up files and that kind of stuff for the video that I take or the pictures that I take? And do I really need that second pair of jeans, or do I really need 3 merino t-shirts when I could really get by with 2 and wash them? Just little things here and there. Do I need to take both the Neo drone and the Mini 4 Pro, or is it better to take the smallest of the 2? And so I got everything back out again today, and I repacked. And I packed into this backpack. Now this backpack is a little smaller. This is a Pack Safe bag that I got. This is my absolute favorite travel bag right here. And in it, other than I have a separate camera bag with my camera and the drone and the gimbal that I need to do a live stream with, those kinds of things, that's in a separate little shoulder bag. But everything fit in here, and I went from 20 pounds to 14 pounds because I didn't have my laptop. I took out some of the clothes. I took out some of the other things that I knew I had packed, the what if scenario again. And all of this really boils down to just reevaluating life from time to time. What am I carrying around with me all the time? And what can I get rid of? What can I jettison that is holding me back, or that is weighing me down, or that is causing me mental anguish? How can I reevaluate my life? And it's a lot like packing for a trip, where you just have to come back to it every once in a while and rethink. Go through your to-do list again Go through your grocery list again. Go through all of the subscriptions you're paying for again. And just, and if you decide not to make any changes and you decide to keep everything just the way it is, that's fine. But you've made an intentional decision. And that's really at the heart of what this whole minimalism thing is about. And I keep hounding that over and over and over. It's about being intentional rather than just floating through life, letting happen what happens. I think narrowing down that packing for me as a solo traveler. Now, I realize if I was traveling, if I was married and I had a couple of small kids, the way I pack would probably be a lot different because I'd have to pack things for the kids that I wouldn't normally pack for me and, that kind of stuff. But it's just me. And so this whole packing thing is sort of that way as you just begin to pare down and think about, what do I need compared to what do I want? And I think that there's a lot of ways to jettison some of the wants to narrow it down more toward what do I need. And if you pad it a little bit here and there and you give yourself a little wiggle room, that's fine. It's no big deal. I'm not telling you to live such an austere life that you're a monk in a cave, never speaking to anybody. Although there are times when that sounds just absolutely heavenly. So one of the things in making this change for me in this particular packing is I'll be gone for 8 days. I leave on a Tuesday. I come back on a Tuesday. And this will be the longest I have never had a laptop. Can I do that? Would it feel better? Would I feel more of a security blanket? I've got a space in this backpack to put my laptop, and I may change my mind and take it. But right now, I have said, you know what? I need to not be so connected. I need to be disconnected for a while. I need to reconnect with where I'm at and not everything online. And there'll be a few things that fall by the wayside. I get that. There'll just be some things that I can't do just on my phone. I'm going to learn to live with that by going out on my own. The other thing about solo travel, and to some extent it's the same with family travel, but a lot of times, I'm just going to be honest, the husband is the last one considered. The wife and the kids, they're the ones who get to choose all the stuff. The husband just pulls out the credit card. So traveling alone, solo traveling, everything becomes an intentional decision. Where am I going to get coffee in the morning? Where am I going to eat lunch in the afternoon? Am I going to do anything tonight? Where am I going to rest? What sights do I want to see? All of these kinds of things now become all encompassed to me, only to me. And I have to make those intentional decisions. And by practicing that in solo travel, it gives me the tools I need to make those kinds of decisions just living here in my apartment in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And not to just let life pass me by and act like nothing matters, but to make intentional decisions in the here and now, in the everyday. Solo traveling helps with that. And I think, too, that when you come home, after you've been somewhere for a week and your whole life is here, everything is here, you realize when you come home and you've got all this other stuff, maybe I don't need some of that either. And it gives you sort of the impetus to maybe think about another purge, another intentional look through the kitchen, another intentional look through the bedroom closet, another intentional look through the bathroom. And find the things that you thought about getting rid of, but you keep putting it back, and you thought, maybe I don't need this anymore, but you keep putting it back. Make the decision, because you just lived an entire week out of a backpack. And if you had to, you could probably live that whole month out of that same backpack, if that's what you needed to do. All of this other stuff is just extra. And some of it is important extra. I'm not trying to minimize that. It's important extra. And some of it is just aesthetic extra. Things that just brings joy to us because it's here. But there are other things that bring joy to us because they're gone. And I think solo traveling kind of helps us navigate that dichotomy of a choice. Why is it here? Not necessarily do I want it or do I need it, but why did I choose to keep this and I didn't choose to keep that? What is the reason? The same way you go through, why did I choose to pack this, but I didn't choose to pack that? What was the reason? And it just helps us, I think, to make those hard decisions. I think that everybody, married or single, family person or single, I think everybody should solo travel every once in a while. I think it's perfectly fine to go off and do your thing for 2 or 3 days, just you. Just decompress. Be alone with your own thoughts. Leave as much social media behind as you can. Yes, make sure your family knows you're safe and that you're having a good time, but not such a good time that you don't want to come home again. But to be able to experience that, every decision is mine. Good, bad, or indifferent, I own them. I can't blame this on anybody else if it goes wrong, but I can certainly cheer loud and free when it goes right. And that doesn't mean you don't love your wife, or you don't love your husband, or you don't love your partner, or you don't love your kids. It just means that every once in a while, you need to rethink the priorities of your own life. And to do that, you may need to spend a little time on your own. And hopefully when you come home, you will have a bigger priority on your relationships and a bigger priority on being a parent, because you have discovered just how important that is compared to this other stuff that maybe now you think maybe you can get rid of. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore. Sometimes when I start these videos, I have a real clear idea where I'm going, and then somewhere along the line, I get lost in the weeds. And maybe I'm lost in the weeds at this point. But if you can relate to anything that I've said, or if you disagree with anything I've said, and you want to leave me a comment, I would certainly appreciate that. And I really, honestly, truly appreciate everybody that watches every week. We'll see you next time.